They don't reflect the thoughts, opinions, prayers. Wow, I'm doing this really poorly.
You're out of practice.
Sorry, no.
You don't have to say it anymore.
I know. Sorry. Let's try again here.
What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I am a grown man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid, but I read them as an adult because I was on a quest to determine if society had been sleeping on that book series. I said yes, and now I'm seeing if society has also been sleeping on the Heroes of Olympus series. And I'm joined today by a very special guest, someone who is beloved on the podcast and hasn't been on in a minute. Here with me in the auxiliary shubio in a steamy closet, it's Dr. Stephen Parra. Dr. Stephen Parra, how's it going?
Dude, it's so good.
I'm ecstatic to have you back on the pod. We've had a fun morning hanging out with the baby. We put the baby down for a nap, and now we are podcasting under a time crunch.
Dun, dun, dun.
Can we finish before the baby wakes up?
Or at least get through this chapter.
Right. The goal is let's at least get through chapter 25 before the baby wakes up, and then we'll see about doing the next chapter because Kelly should return. But this is parenting, this is podcasting, and this is Percy Jackson. Now, we've added a new guest question since you've last been on, which is if there was a cabin devoted to you, if there was Cabin Stephen, what would the architectural design of the cabin be?
Architectural design of the cabin. I think what I've gone familiar is like you also have to pick which camp it's in, or is that like a thing, or is it like?
I don't think anyone's done that yet. I think they've just kind of like described what the cabin would look like.
Cool. I'd be a Camp Half-Blood.
Cool.
Could you imagine me doing military drills? I just can't, anyways. I've had time to think about this, and by that I mean I've spent like 15 minutes thinking about it.
Look, that's enough.
Yes, but I feel like a lot of wood tones, some metal stuff kind of in there, kind of like industrial-ish stuff, but like fun. The cabin would be kind of positioned along the lake where we try to get a good cross breeze going.
Ooh, okay.
I'm thinking like wraparound porch, lots of rocking chairs, or just nice, comfy things to sit in, a lot of end tables, so you can just kind of be outside, get a nice breeze. Definitely lime trees. For those that don't know, I eat a lot of limes.
Yes. And you may have said, people don't eat limes. Stephen eats limes.
Yes, that's also true.
He will put them in his water and then afterwards eat the lime rind and all.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know if I was expecting to be this vulnerable on this podcast.
Look, man, you said I eat a lot of limes. You got to tell the full tale.
You're right. But I'm thinking a really comfy place, an inviting place, a very relaxed place. I think on the inside, it'd have a really good kitchen.
Sure.
You can make a lot of cool stuff, easy to host things, but also just like cook whatever you want. Definitely like some big computer monitors for fun gaming and stuff like that. Some nice TVs. Actually, I think we'd be the cabin that has like the movie theater set up, like the nice recliners.
Hang out at our cabin.
Yes.
Yeah.
The big screen, the nice sound system. That sort of stuff.
That tracks. Yeah. I like it. That sounds good. All right. Well, let's get into the chapters that we're discussing today. That would be chapters 25 and 26 of The Mark of Athena, which are both Piper chapters. Obviously, we will retitle them. Now, where we last left our heroes, we had the underwater adventure of Frank and Hazel and Leo, and then they were taking the bubbles up to the surface. And of course, we're going to begin from the other perspective. So this chapter opens with, quote, Piper had a new entry in her top 10 list of times Piper felt useless. And I feel bad for her here because I think that is something that's kind of obvious. We've even brought it up in a previous episode. I think the one that came out most recently at the time of recording this, or recording this on August 9th, I think it came up in the Montreal live show, which is that Piper, in certain circumstances, can't really do much, but it's not fighting for the most part, though she will bring it up here. It's more of what she discusses next in the aftermath. So she is frustrated that she wasn't able to use her charm speak or her dagger against Shrimpzilla, which makes sense. And then she was unable to help in the search for Frank, Hazel, and Leo. And that's the kind of thing we were talking about earlier, where I don't know, what can she do? I mean, obviously, like, anyone helping is nice, but people are utilizing magical powers to try and find these folks, because you've got Percy searching the ocean for the missing crew. You've got Jason flying around putting out literal fires from the Greek fire.
Yeah.
And then Annabeth Hedge and Buford are repairing the ship. That's not necessarily like a supernatural thing, but they're definitely more adept at that task than Piper. And I don't know if you need a fourth chef in that kitchen. So all she does is stare at Catoptris and hope that it shows her a vision of where these three friends are, but it doesn't. All she's able to see was a vision of 3 black SUVs filled with Roman demigods driving north from Charleston up to Camp Half-Blood, presumably. They've got Reyna at the wheel, and the eagles are flying above them, and then the lairs are appearing beside them. So, I mean, that is still helpful. Like, it's not like she's doing nothing, but I understand her frustrations of, oh no, there's a particular task at hand and I am unable to contribute to this task. And I also couldn't help with the big fighting of Shrimpzilla because I can't talk him down with my sweet, sweet charm speed.
Yeah.
She focuses more intently on Catoptris, and then she sees the visions that she saw before and the ones that really spooked her. A human-headed bull rising from water. I'd forgotten about this one. And then her and Jason and Percy fighting off drowning in some sort of well with darkness surrounding them, etc. She wonders how Helen of Troy stayed sane with this as her only news source, and then she remembered how that whole war went down, and then thinks, maybe she did go mad. Maybe she didn't stay sane.
Yeah, maybe things didn't turn out so great.
Not what you want. The next morning arrives. No one has slept. Narrator Piper says, quote, Piper and Annabeth sent a dream vision to Camp Half-Blood, warning Chiron of what had happened with the Romans at Fort Sumter. And I was flummoxed. I had no idea what a dream vision meant. They clarify a couple sentences later, but I was like, what is this? How are they sending dream visions? What is this new means of communication? Is Morpheus a good guy now? What is going on? I was so confused. I don't know if you had a similar reaction when you first read it as well.
I think I might have just glossed over it. I think my brain just replaced it with Iris message. I didn't really think much about it.
Yeah, so a couple sentences later, narrator Piper calls it an Iris message, but in what world is that a dream message?
Yeah.
Specifically because oftentimes there will be communication through dreams.
Yeah.
It's such a weird phrasing, and I don't know. I'd have to look back, or if anyone knows, but I don't think a IM has ever been called a dream vision before.
No, it's supposed to be like light and stuff, right? The whole, I mean, and now it gets into like the mythology of Rick versus just mythology of mythology, but like, I know the whole thing was just a joke to be like instant messaging IM stuff. So I mean, if he wants to change the rules, that's fine. I just
it's more of just the nomenclature. Like I never have heard it referred to it as this before, so it made me wonder what's going on. What is so? It gets cleared up, but I was really confused. Yeah. Annabeth explains in this dream message her conversation with Reyna, and then Piper shares the SUV vision that she just saw. And then Chiron in this vision, seemed worried by the news, but he says that the camp will be ready, and he confirms that Tyson, Mrs. O'Leary, and Ella have returned safely. That is nice.
Good.
And Tyson also can summon some Cyclopes if need be. Rachel Elizabeth Dare is also there, and she is comparing prophecies with Ella, trying to figure out what could happen. So, seems like we've got at least something there at Camp Half-Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously still not an ideal situation, but we've got something. Now, narrator Piper does call this an Iris message, which made me far less confused. And now our remaining crew here on the ship, they are hoping for a miracle. And then, boom, the 3 underwater bubbles surface, and they are reunited with their missing crew members.
Yeah, I feel like in some ways this is finally us getting to see what it was like watching the second task in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire from the audience perspective. They're all just sitting there like, well, I hope something happens, because
the most boring sporting spectacle of all time. They're literally wizards. Couldn't they have done some sort of magical It's ridiculous. They're just sitting on the bleachers,
staring at
waiting.
nothing.
Just waiting. Piper instinctually dives into the water and swims up to Leo and kisses him on the cheek, taking him by surprise. Again, this is something where I just feel like this is an Uncle Rick thing. I feel like maybe back in the day, friends kiss people on the cheek when they're excited, or maybe I'm the weird one, but like I've never had a friend be like, oh, I'm so glad to see you, kiss you on the cheek. Feels like an antiquated sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, even growing up in Texas, near San Antonio. It wasn't really a cultural practice I was a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe my aunts and uncles and stuff, but like amongst my peers,
Sure.
certainly not.
All the French listeners are like, what are you talking about? This is no man. Piper asks, what the hell happened? Leo says it's a long story and then offers her a brownie after the picnic basket bubble surfaces. The underwater crew boards. They change into dry clothes. Frank is in Jason's too small for him pants because of the whole Buford dry cleaning fiasco. And then they gather for a celebratory, yay, you're back, breakfast. Leo starts fixing the controls. Hazel and Frank tell the story of the last 2 chapters. Jason compliments the brownies, and Piper is astounded that that is his only comment. And Jason goes, what? I heard the story. Fish centaurs, mer people, letter of intro to the Tiber River god. Got it. But these brownies.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I had a misread on who Jason was in the first book. Maybe he was still coming into form, but he feels a little more aloof at times, or at least just more imperfect. And I just wasn't expecting this out of him. But I don't know. I wouldn't have expected Jason to be the guy to be like, oh, yeah, this food's great. I don't know. Very interesting. But the timing of this is interesting. And it only got weirder as this chapter went on. But even with this first thing, it was only on the brain because, as I said, we're recording this August 9th. So I just put out earlier this week the Montreal episode where our guest, Jenna, seemingly out of nowhere said, I don't know, I don't think Piper is going to be with Jason. I think Piper's going to find a new love interest. And at the time, I was like, that's wild. What a ridiculous take. I thought that internally, didn't say it out loud because I'm a nice person. But that take has aged incredibly well, because even with this first line, I was like, man, there's been a couple of things where Piper's been a little off towards Jason, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the Eidolon thing was just kind of weird, whatever. But then this thing, I was like, man, again? And then this chapter's basically thesis statement is Piper's not so sure about Jason. So really interesting timing wise. I love when things kind of line up perfectly, where something from editing world lines up with recording world, since I'm usually so far ahead. But yeah, it was on the brain because of that. And we'll see as this chapter goes on.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Obviously, you can't talk about it. We've got the trapdoor installed in this closet. That's why I always
you managed to get this here. It's like really impressive.
Well, look, when Kelly and I do recordings, she sits on that side of the table inside the closet as well. So, you know, gotta keep on making it happen.
Sound investment, I would say.
Yeah, you got to do it. It's all important for the podcast. You know, that's what we're putting the Patreon funds toward.
Yeah.
Home renovations that certainly go against my lease. But anyway, Percy Jackson. Frank agrees that the brownies are great and says that they're even better with Esther's peach preserves. And I 5,000% forgot about Esther and the preserves. I had to search it in the book. I was like, Esther? She's the person that showed them. She was at Jimmy Carter's library and then gave them peach preserves after giving them directions and stuff.
Just a super overly nice person in Atlanta.
Completely forgot about it. So good. Hazel thinks that that sounds gross. Jason thinks that that sounds awesome. Narrator Piper says, quote, Hazel and Piper exchanged a look of total exasperation. Boys. So then at this point... But like,
kind of want to try it.
It does. Look, peach and chocolate, it can be good. Peach goes with a lot of different things.
Right?
It's underrated. I've done... Peach and prosciutto goes really well together.
I can see that.
We've done peach and fried plantains goes really well. Like peach just, there's something about it. I can see the sweet of the peach and the sweet of the brownie being different sweets that work well together. So,
yeah. Or what if it's dark chocolate brownies?
I mean, look,
you know, I mean,
there's super duper work, and I love a dark chocolate. So I don't know. Now, with the whole thing of looking at each other and saying boys, then I kind of walked it back of like, oh, okay, maybe it's not Piper doubting her thing with Jason. Maybe it's just, boy being a boy. Because we've had Percy make boy comments and stuff. But then the chapter continues. Percy is very interested in knowing about the water camp, and he is shocked that Chiron's siblings didn't want to meet him, no matter how many times Hazel reassures him it was just politics. Percy asks twice, like, they didn't want to meet you? You sure they didn't want to meet me?
I love it. But they didn't want to meet me?
So funny. It's so good. Annabeth has to snap him out of it. Hazel agrees because she wants to focus on Nico because there's less than 2 days until the deadline. And it was only when I wrote deadline that time that I wrote, oh, wow, deadline.
And he's the son of Hades. Oh,
very on the nose. Piper wants to save Nico, even if she's worried that her drowning vision awaits her wherever they are going to find Nico. She asks Leo if they're going to arrive in time, and Leo confirms, saying that they will get to the Mediterranean by the next morning, and then they can get to Rome by the end of that day, whether they go by air or by sea. Jason realizes that only gives them 24 hours to find Nico once they get to Rome. Percy says, yeah, and we also have to deal with the whole Mark of Athena stuff in that day, given that it's the title of the book that we're in. Annabeth looks worried as she removes the map from her backpack. She goes to show it to the group and is shocked to see that it's blank. Annabeth guesses that it is like the mark itself. She can only see it when she's alone. She can't share it with other demigods.
Mm-hmm.
Frank asks what used to be on the map and what is the Mark of Athena anyway. And then Annabeth murmurs the coin, and Percy goes, what coin? And Annabeth shows the coin and explains that it is an Athenian coin given to her by her mother when they last spoke in Grand Central Terminal, and everything was super normal and not weird at all. Leo asks what the AOE, but the O is an epsilon O, inscription means, and he asks, does it mean area of effect? Because he's a nerd.
I believe the O's a theta, because I'm a nerd.
Oh, sorry, I said epsilon. My bad. It is a theta. That makes way more sense. I'll leave it in. I made fun of your lime thing. You get me misreading. So the reason I said that, or I think I just read it wrong in my notes. No, I just read that wrong. I had it out of order in my notes. Anyway, Annabeth explains that it is alpha, theta, epsilon, which means of the Athenians in Greek, which could also kind of roughly translate to the children of Athena. Piper guesses that this is like a Greek version of the Roman SPQR, and Annabeth confirms. She then explains that the mark is the owl and the olive branch symbol that's on the coin. She explains that she's seen it in her dreams, and she saw it twice at Fort Sumter. And she looks spooked when she says that she saw it at the fort, and Percy apologizes for not being there for her then. And she counters that, no, I had to be alone. Like I'm saying, this is only showing up when no one else is around. Yeah. She tells the group that she's going to have to go solo once they get to Rome, and that makes sense given the prophecy of someone's walking alone. She says that she's going to have to follow the mark all the way to the source, and Frank thinks of the prophecy line, the giant's bane stands golden pale, one with pain from a woven jail. And at the time, I was like, that seems completely unrelated to anything that was brought up. But then when they start talking about the statue, then it's like, it makes more sense. But I don't know if Frank already knew about the statue or whatever, but it just felt very strange of him to be like, oh yeah, follow it to the source. Here's a line that makes sense. I was like, does it, Frank? I don't know.
Trapdoor?
Frank asks what will be at the source. And Jason guesses a statue of Athena. And then that's when I wrote in my notes, oh, could that be what's gold and pale? Piper frowns and goes, you said you didn't know. And Jason says, I don't know, but it's the only artifact that could fit the legend. And again, just Piper, Jason, a little bit of butting of heads. Uh-oh.
I know. I feel like I didn't catch on to this as much as you did, I think.
I don't think even with these couple of things, I would have thought it had I not very recently done the production work on the Montreal episode.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just like, for me, it's just like a lot of the ways in which Jason is communicating, I think it's just how my brain works in some ways.
Yeah,
just being like, I don't know. I think it might be this. I don't know, but this is what I'm thinking now, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it could be a classic, like, boys thing, because if you're going stereotypically, I think communication is usually a weak point.
Yes.
But, yeah, it doesn't necessarily read as bad quite yet, but then the end of this chapter makes it really clear.
I'm not trying to poo-poo on your statement. I'm just, like, learning with you here. I'm like, I hadn't thought about this in this way yet.
I'm mainly just trying to not act like I'm all cool and smart and stuff, because it is, I got to give all credit to Jenna and then the timing of the podcast. Otherwise, I would not have been on the scent at all.
And listeners at home, I've only read through this book. I'm not that much further, well, a whole half a book ahead of you now.
But you have not gotten into whatever book 4 is. Jason apologizes to Annabeth for not telling her everything earlier. He explains that he was scared about the possibility of this legend becoming true, and Annabeth immediately forgives him and says, I figured it out anyway. She adds, quote, if we manage to save the statue, Greek and Romans together, don't you see, it could heal the rift. Percy makes a timeout gesture and asks, what statue? Annabeth answers, the Athena Parthenos, the most famous Greek statue of all time. It was 40 feet tall, covered in ivory and gold. And I was like, golden pale. It stood in the middle of the Parthenon in Athens. So that is sounding familiar. I've at least heard some stuff about this statue before. This is lining up with some of the guesses that I had mentioned in previous episodes. Leo asks what happened to the statue. Annabeth says it disappeared. Leo asks, how does a 40-foot tall statue in the middle of the Parthenon go missing? And Annabeth says it's one of history's greatest mysteries. Some think it was melted down. Some think it was destroyed. Others think it was carried off by the invading Romans, which is what I've heard most often, or maybe just specifically. And that feels most likely given how things are going.
Yeah.
Jason says that the legend he heard at Camp Jupiter went, quote, the Romans carted off the Athena Parthenos when they took over the city of Athens. They hid it in an underground shrine in Rome. The Roman demigods swore it would never see the light of day. They literally stole Athena so she could no longer be the symbol of Greek military power. She became Minerva, a much tamer goddess. So that lines up with what I've heard, at least. Annabeth says ever since, Athena's children have searched for the statue. Not all of the children of Athena know of the legend, but a select few are chosen by Athena and given a coin to follow. Narrator Piper says, quote, Piper watched the two of them, Annabeth and Jason, with quiet amazement. They spoke like a team, without any hostility or blame. The two of them had never really trusted each other. Piper was close enough to both of them to know that, but now, if they could discuss such a huge problem so calmly, the ultimate source of Greek/Roman hatred, maybe there was hope for the two camps after all. And this makes me feel very happy. Obviously, I want the two camps to get along, so with people like Reyna sowing the seeds of doubt in an earlier chapter, to have Piper say, I think something is here, makes me very excited.
For sure. And I mean, they've gone through a lot together, even this small amount of time, and kind of just had to make the choice to trust each other, get on the Argo 2 and just do the rest of this book.
Totally.
So it's great to see these things kind of coming together.
100%. Percy asks, even if Annabeth finds the statue, how will she move it? Annabeth says that she's not sure, but she thinks that the statue can unite the camps and help them defeat the giants.
And then afterwards, she starts doing push-ups in the back of the Argo 2 for the rest of the voyage.
I'm going to move this statue myself. Do this. Viper says this could be huge and could also help them defeat Gia. She wishes that they could help Annabeth. Hazel and Leo share that same sentiment. They are worried about her. They think that it's the right call, but they wish that they could help. Percy asks what is guarding the statue. He wonders if it has to do with spiders. My guess here is that it's Arachne. Frank thinks, quote, one through pain from a woven jail could be spider related. And then Annabeth's face goes pale, making Piper think that Annabeth knows what's in store, or at least she has a guess. Piper says that they can deal with it when they get to Rome. She's trying to put Annabeth at ease by giving her a vote of confidence. And Percy says that he has learned long ago to never bet against Annabeth. Leo says that there's much to be done before reaching the Mare Nostrum, so he's ready to give them all chores to help them prep the ship. Piper and Jason clean the lower deck, and she's enjoying getting to spend some time with him. Narrator Piper says, quote, as they were fixing up the stables, Piper thought about the night Annabeth and Percy had spent down here accidentally. Piper wished that she could talk with Jason all night, just curl up on the stable floor and enjoy being with him. Why didn't they get to break the rules?
Right?
But Jason wasn't like that. He was hardwired to be a leader and set a good example. Breaking the rules didn't come naturally to him. No doubt Reyna admired that about him. Piper did too. ... Mostly. That was a very interesting paragraph for me, because at first when she asked why didn't they get to break the rules, I thought she was doing a whole, Percy and Annabeth get special status because they're Golden Boy and Golden Girl. But then the next couple of sentences show Piper thinks that Jason is the limiting factor. A little bit of too much of a goody-goody for her liking. And it's now like this one, it just really kind of kicks it into motion. And then the rest of this chapter is just more and more and more.
It's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, it's making Jenna's call look really good. And let the record show Jenna had not read past the chapters. So it wasn't her trying to look cool on the podcast.
Yeah, and I think this is me as a man reading another man writing a teenage girl. Maybe I wasn't catching on to this so well. I think from my perspective, it was coming back to just Reyna. It's like, Reyna must like this about him, and was coming back to the history they had together and was kind of working through those emotions. In my head, she's like, he's so Roman, I'm so Greek. Where do we meet in the middle thing? And then kind of thinking, this is other girl that's so much more Roman. Wouldn't he rather be with her kind of thing?
Yeah.
But I don't know. You're kind of winning me over here.
I mean, yeah, now it's more of just like personality-wise. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. And obviously I want everyone to be happy. So we'll just have to see. Narrator Piper says that the only time she convinced Jason to break out of his shell was at the wilderness school when they snuck onto the roof and had their first kiss. And I wrote in my notes, was that real? I thought that was fake. And then the next line, Narrator Piper goes, but that was a trick of the mist. She wonders if she could get the real Jason to sneak out. She admires Jason while he works, not just for his strong arms and skillful hands, but also his upbeat and confident demeanor. He never complains. He still cracks jokes, even though he's got a rough situation going on. He's absolutely wiped. He's not gotten sleep. He's just down in the dumps, but isn't showing it. Is still trying to do the right thing and help the team. And Piper sees why Raina has a crush on Jason, and then she wonders what Aphrodite said to Raina to change her demeanor towards him. Did she try and push her away from him? I'm very intrigued to learn about that at the end of the book, or if Raina ever becomes a narrator. I don't know who's to say. Piper wishes that Aphrodite didn't show up in Charleston because she was so embarrassing.
Mom.
Teens. She's uneasy about how interested Aphrodite was in Hazel and Annabeth's love lives because that's never a good thing. So I think that's her being a good friend. But then narrator Piper says, quote, but also Piper was secretly hurt not to have her mother to herself. Aphrodite had barely looked at her. She hadn't said a word about Jason. She hadn't bothered explaining her conversation with Raina at all. So more interesting stuff. Piper worries that Aphrodite might no longer find Piper interesting because she got her guy and she's done. We don't have to worry about her love life anymore. So
but see, now you're blowing my mind here because what if she's not interested? Because
Piper wishes that she knew as much about relationships as one would assume that the head of the Aphrodite cabin would, but she's constantly second guessing things with Jason, like reading too much into his facial expressions or his comments. I think that's just normal dating stuff. I also think that is normal early relationship stuff. I also think that is normal teenage relationship stuff.
For sure.
The number of text messages that I overanalyzed, like in college, just like particular emojis being used. It's like, why did she use this smiley face and not this smiley face? I don't think she likes me anymore. Like just, I totally understand the teenage urge to overanalyze.
Or God forbid the question, what are you thinking about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, and that is what Jason asks. And Piper only then realizes that she was probably making some sort of grumpy looking face. She says, nothing. I mean, a lot of things, kind of all at once. Jason smiles and tells her that everything will work out just like she said. But Piper says, I was just saying that to try and make Annabeth feel better. Jason says, yeah, but it's true. Regardless, we have almost made it to Rome. We have ditched the new Romans. Things are going to be all right. Piper warns that those new Romans are approaching Camp Half-Blood, and Jason takes a beat to try and think of what good spin could be put on this. And he says that Chiron will find a way to halt them, and Raina will try and slow them down. He is convinced that she is still on their side. And then we get this quote from the book. You trust her. Piper's voice sounded hollow, even to herself. Look, Pipes, I told you, you've got nothing to be jealous about. She's beautiful. She's powerful. She's so Roman. Jason then drops his hammer and grabs Piper's hand, which sends a jolt up her arm. And Jason says, quote, you're beautiful and powerful, and I don't want you to be Roman. I want you to be Piper. Besides, we're a team, you and me. And now it's like, oh man, Jason's great. I love Jason.
I love Jason. I'm like, well, he's great.
You can have a situation though where someone is great, they're just not the right fit. Like that is something that can completely happen. And I think if this does happen, I think Piper will have the realization of like, you're fantastic, maybe just not for me.
And that might be a healthy thing for Rick to depict at some point in his books. But
yeah.
Man, now I just want to go read more. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, I think that would be a nice, interesting romance thing to include in a book, that you can have people that, like, I don't know what happened with Jason. I don't know if he would find someone else. I don't know if he would not be with anyone. I don't know if he would get back with Raina. I don't know what would happen to Jason in the long term. But I think if there are multiple instances of these two are just supposed to be together and then it doesn't work out multiple ways, then I think that is good to include, because I definitely stayed in some relationships in my younger years too long because I just thought it felt right. Like, oh, we met in such a cute way. How can we not see it through? Or like things started off so well. How can we not see it through? And I would have appreciated if I had read a YA book where I was like, oh, okay, there were people who like seemed like it was all supposed to go well, or like the story was totally there, but they just didn't gel. So yeah, if that's what happens, good for Rick.
Yeah.
Piper wants to believe everything that Jason is saying, but she just can't shake her doubts. The dinner bell then rings. Jason smirks and says that they better get up there before Hedge ties bells around their necks. And then the book goes, "Yeah," she said regretfully, looking at the glass doors below their feet. "I guess we need dinner, ... and a good night's sleep." So she for sure was like, "I don't want to eat food. I don't want to sleep. I just want to cuddle with you and talk all night, but okay, fine." And that's the end of chapter 25, which I have retitled Trouble in Paradise. Do you have a retitling?
Originally, it was just like exposition the chapter.
Hey, look, we need it can't just be action. It can't just be jokes. Sometimes this is a teen book.
Yeah.
There needs to be some romance. Sometimes we need love. So we're going to take our mid-roll break here, the Market of Athena, and then we will continue on with our discussion by talking about chapter 26. But enjoy the mid-roll break where we'll talk about updates with the show and new merch and things going on the Patreon. Check it out. Hello and welcome to the Market of Athena, Shubio edition from recording, but Pittsburgh edition from editing. Yes, I am recording this one on the morning of September 28th. I am about to leave for the airport in 9 minutes to fly to Pittsburgh for the live show that we're doing there. This episode will come out afterwards, so shout out to everyone who came to the live show. Thank you so much for coming, but we've got other updates with the podcast, so let's talk about those updates. I have received the downloaded video replay of the live stream that we did for the ending of the Market of Athena, so I should be able to get that up on the Patreon shop soon. So if you missed the live show, if you missed the 7-day replay, but you still want to see it, you will be able to go to the newsolympian.com/Patreon and get it in the shop portion there. That's also where there's some other downloads like past live streams, the podcast that I did with Eric Hamilton Schneider about the Fast and the Furious movies. So there's a whole bunch of fun stuff there. And if you did get a stream ticket, whether you got it for the live stream event itself or you got it after the event finished, it was the 7-day replay version of it, I will be sending you an email with a download link for this video. You won't miss out. You will be able to download it. The service that I'm going to use to send it deletes the link after 30 days. So just within 30 days of me sending that email, download the video because if you got the stream, you should be able to have the fully downloaded version forever. So stay tuned for that on the Patreon if you want to buy it, and stay tuned for that in your inbox if you already bought a ticket to the stream. Now, speaking of the Patreon, I'm putting up a new bonus episode in the very near future. It is a continuation of something that we did where one of my interns this summer, Emma, went into the TNO subreddit and found every single post that was marked as spoiler and then found the ones that I am now spoiler safe from, and I've been reading through them. So some of these are 3 and 4 years old, and it's very fun for me to go through. And the first one we did was the earliest stuff. So it was people talking about, OMG, I can't believe Mike is so in love with Luke and Percy's friendship. Ha 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 ha. So we're making our way through that. That'll be the next bonus episode. And it's part of an effort. I'm trying to make the bonus episodes, which are available to people at the Super God tier and above, I'm trying to make those much more highly produced. I want to put more effort into those and make them sound really proper because I'm going to soon be doing something on the Spotify feed where bonus episodes, the monthly ones, show up in the main feed. So it kind of all would be in one place. So I really want to make sure that if something is going to show up on the main feed, it is properly something that feels warranted to be next to the episodes that Sherry and I work so hard on. So that's part of that effort there. But that will be coming to the Super God tier patrons soon, as well as other classic bonus episode stuff that I like to do when I do the cover reviews or the Sporkle quizzes and stuff like that. Oh, I got to do the Sporkle quiz one because I finished Mark of Athena, where I do the mentions by character. I'm in the future where I'm already reading House of Hades. But anyway, speaking of the Patreon, let's give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. So shout out to our newest Super God tier patron, Claire Strickler. Shout out to our newest God tier patrons, those that call me Tim. And shout out to our newest Demigod tier patrons, Alyssa and Freak Dude 2317. Also, shout out to Amber Rabot, who upgraded their pledge. Thank you all so much for your support. May Hermes bless you that if you are trying to talk really quickly so that you can do some work, but still make it in time to catch your flight, he blesses you.
Hello, it's Mike from the green room. We're about to take the stage in Pittsburgh, but I have one update I wanted to put here into the mid-roll break. Also, yes, I am standing near the storage room door, which is in the back of a bowling alley. Anyway, I wanted to let you all know, Hades 2, the video game, came out just a couple of days ago. So I will probably be doing some sort of Hades 2 streaming on the TNO YouTube channel. I'm not exactly sure when and how many I'll be doing. So your best course of action is to subscribe to the TNO YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TNO newest Olympian, or follow me on Instagram @newest Olympian, and I'll post about whenever I'm doing it. But yes, definitely going to do some of those streams from a new, fresh save file where I start a new game from the beginning.
If you're all caught up on the Newest Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume, you're in luck. I make a whole bunch of stuff. I referenced it earlier. You should listen to The Last and the Curious. It is a podcast, a limited series podcast that I made with Eric Hamilton Schneider, who I'll be seeing today at the Pittsburgh show. We made one episode per Fast and Furious movie. I had never seen them. He's seen them a bunch of times. And we went through the series. We watched a bunch of the movies together in person and then immediately hopped on microphone to talk about it. And then afterwards, we did it remotely. It was really fun. We did a couple of bonus episodes as well. It's a hoot and a half, and it's a joy. And you can get every episode completely ad-free all at once for just $5. No ads, no nothing. You just get it all at once. Boom, $5 over at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. Or you can go to The Last and the Curious, but the URL is thelastandthecurio.us. So that's a really good podcast that I think you should check out. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon, where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors to make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me, and others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Pittsburgh, don't be surprised if you hear an ad where they say yins, because that's a word that's said there. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of The Newest Olympian. And we're back, and we're here to discuss chapter 26, which is also called Piper. Obviously, we'll retitle it. This chapter opens with, quote, "The next morning, Piper woke to a different ship's horn, a blast so loud it literally shook her out of bed." And I wrote in my notes, I hope this just means they're in the Mediterranean now, and there's a cruise ship or something. Shubstradamus strikes again. Piper rushes to the top deck, and everyone else is there. They are also wearing hastily put together outfits like Piper, except for Hedge, since he was on night watch. Narrator Piper says, quote, "Frank's Vancouver Winter Olympics shirt was inside out. Love this. That's a great look. Percy wore pajama pants and a bronze breastplate, which was an interesting fashion statement. Hazel's hair was all blown to one side, as though she'd walked through a cyclone, and Leo had accidentally set himself on fire. His t-shirt was in charred tatters. His arms were smoking." And this feels like me anytime there's a situation where like the baby wakes up in the middle of the night and I don't have like a perfect set of pajamas or something laid out, and I just have to like grab whatever's on the floor, and it's like, okay, workout shorts, slippers, a hoodie with no shirt underneath. Yeah, cool. We got to get the baby.
Yeah. This happened to me so much times at work. I'd be wearing scrubs every day, and then just my normal people clothes were just all dirty. And it's like, this is what I have.
Well, you need to get what I see a lot of Subway ads for, which is like good-looking scrubs. We're not going to do any free advertising, but I'm pretty sure you know the brand I'm talking about.
Yes,
where
I
they're
do. They're very comfy, but also now the hospital just gives me scrubs.
That is also what I've heard. I've been very confused by the marketing for them because most of my friends who are doctors don't have to buy their own scrubs. It's the thing where like they show up for work, there are clean scrubs for them, they wear them, they put them in some sort of like laundry bin situation, and then they leave.
Yes. The caveat to that is most of your friends who are doctors work in the operating room and not in the general hospital.
Okay. Gotcha. And then I guess also if you have a medical field job that is not doctor, so like if you were at something like a dermatologist's office where it doesn't get as gross and messy, I'm sure that you probably are doing your own scrub work.
Trust me, there is a huge market for those scrubs. Don't worry.
And I guess, specifically if you were trying to look cute at the office too, whereas like, I don't know if you're walking in doing anesthesiology being like, I hope my patient likes my pants.
If they're paying attention to that, I've done something very wrong.
I'm also thinking of our buddy Colin, who's a surgical oncologist, who's they're gonna, hello, I need a tumor removed from my stomach. Oh, hey, nice top. Yeah. It's so form-fitting. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So indeed, a cruise ship is passing them just about 100 yards away. There are tourists all on the giant cruise ship. They are waving, they're taking photos. They seemed generally unbothered by the ship. They just seem happy to see people. So Piper wonders what the mist is making the Argo 2, here we go again, look like. Very intentional usage of the sequel thing now that they're maybe in Greece. Or at least the Mediterranean. As the cruise ship blows its horn again and shakes everything, Hedge wants to attack them. Leo rejects this offer. Hazel begins to ask where they are, but then she just goes, oh, wow. And the narrator Piper gives this description. Piper followed her gaze and gasped. Without the cruise ship blocking their view, she saw a mountain jutting from the sea less than half a mile to the north. Piper had seen impressive cliffs before. She'd driven Highway 1 along the California coast. She'd even fallen down the Grand Canyon with Jason and flown back up. Gotta be a great view, honestly. Right? Yeah, bad time, great view. But neither was as amazing as this massive fist of blinding white rock thrust into the sky. On one side, the limestone cliffs were almost completely sheer, dropping into the sea over 1,000 feet below, as near as Piper could figure. On the other side, the mountain sloped in tiers, covered in green forest, so that the whole thing reminded Piper of a colossal sphinx, worn down over the millennia, with a massive white head and chest and a green cloak over its back. Rick is cooking. What a description. I
want to see this.
I know. I really want to see this. Like, I've been to Italy before. Mm-hmm. I have not done as many coastal type things. I haven't done some of those trips before. Mm-hmm. I think weirdly the closest I got to that was when we took the train from Zurich to Milan right after the TNO live show, because it was far cheaper to fly out of Milan, and trains are so good in Europe that that's a normal thing you can do.
Yeah.
And we passed through like Lake Como and that area, which was gorgeous.
That's cool.
So yeah, this is making me really want to go. And I've always wanted to go. Like, I've never been to Greece. I've never been to Croatia. Like, I would love to do a Mediterranean type vacation. And this description alone is like, I got to get out there, man. That sounds great.
You see what's up here.
Now, what's funny about all of this, me talking about wanting to go on Greek and Italian vacations, is that Annabeth clocks this as the Rock of Gibraltar, which I have heard of, but I didn't know where it was. And that makes it clear if this podcast wasn't proof enough, because it's at the tip of Spain. So all of this talk of other places. At the time, I was like, oh, yeah, well, this sounds great. No. They're in Spain, which, again, I've been to Spain, not from coastal trips, but I would love to return. And I've still never did a TNO live show in Spain. So that's definitely on the list for Europe, where I try to go to more and more places that I was unable to go the first time around.
I love Spain. You should go.
I went to Barcelona when I lived in France. We went because I looked at the entire schedule for FC Barcelona, and there was only one weekend game where they were home during the entirety of my 6-month stint in France.
Wow.
Or it was something where it was like maybe the only weekends they had games were like there was only one that worked in my schedule. So we're like, we got to go. And we went, me and my roommates, and it was a fun time. The whole purpose of the trip was to see Messi. I was like, I want to see Messi play with Barcelona in Barcelona. Let's go. He got injured in the 3rd minute of the game.
Oh, no.
It was still a great game because they had a killer team at that point in time. But yeah, it's just like, well, I have seen him. And then, of course, he joined PSG after I moved out of France. Like, yeah, so me and Messi, just ships passing in the night, as we always say. But speaking of ships, Annabeth clocks this is the Rock of Gibraltar. She's also able to point out the tip of Africa, so she knows that they are at the mouth of the Mediterranean. Now, despite it being warm, Piper shivers. But it's out of fear. And she just recognizes this is where things level up. Piper asks, do we just sail in? And Leo asks, why not? Ships do that all the time. Piper thinks, not triremes full of demigods. Piper then sees Annabeth gaze onto the rock in a way that Piper knows she is anticipating trouble. Annabeth says that back in the day, people would call this area the Pillars of Hercules. Quote, the rock was supposed to be one pillar. The other was one of the African mountains. Nobody is sure which one. And then Percy has a hilarious line where he frowns and then goes, Hercules, huh? That guy was like the Starbucks of ancient Greece. Everywhere you turn, there he is. A tried and true New Yorker. The only thing he could have said to make a more New York reference would have been, I mean, because like Starbucks is being everywhere. It's not just a New York thing. Yeah. But if he said he was like the Duane Reade of ancient Greece, because Duane Reade, for the longest time, their slogan was literally everywhere you go. And they had this jingle that would go like, everywhere you go, Duane Reade. And it ended on this like not resounding note, which always bugged me so much. Like, it was just always, and maybe that was the point of the advertisement, was that you were just like always thinking like,
what's the
Duane
next
Reade?
Yeah, it's like, you know how we stand out? You don't give them what they want.
Then they're gonna want to come to Duane Reade.
To give us a piece of their mind.
They're gonna come here when they need a chocolate milk on the way home from the bars.
Oh yes,
they're gonna come here. Now, Piper asks if these pillars are dangerous. Annabeth says that for the Greeks, they were the edge of the known world, and for the Romans, the pillars were said to be inscribed with a Latin warning, which Percy fills in, non plus ultra, and I wrote, oh, nothing more beyond. Annabeth translates it as nothing further beyond. Okay, sure, yeah, no, that's valid. And then Annabeth asks Percy how he knows, and I thought it was just him doing his instinctual Latin that was coming up, starting with the son of Neptune, but instead he goes, I'm looking right at it. Then we get this description from narrator Piper. Directly ahead of them, in the middle of the straits, an island had shimmered into existence. Piper was positive no island had been there before. It was a small, hilly mass of land covered in forests and ringed with white beaches. Not very impressive compared to Gibraltar, but in front of the island, jutting from waves about 100 yards offshore, were two white Grecian columns, as tall as the Argo's masts. Between the columns, huge silver words glittered underwater, maybe an illusion or maybe inlaid in the sand. Non plus ultra. Pretty cool vibes.
Yeah, it sounds like some sort of like decommissioned government program or something.
Oh no.
Non plus ultra.
Leo asks if he should turn around. No one responds, seemingly all for the same reason as Piper. They see a figure on the beach, a man in purple robes with dark hair. He has his arms crossed like he's waiting for them. Frank asks, could that be? And Jason responds, Hercules, the most powerful demigod of all time. And I'm so shocked and stoked. We're finally getting Hercules. He does get referenced in almost every single book.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're finally getting him at long last. Book 8 in the series. We're finally meeting Hercules.
I know. And like me coming over to watch you kind of keep reading and just being like, okay, I can't say anything. And then finally like Hercules, I'm like, well, now I also can't say anything because we got to record.
Yes. For a peek behind the curtain, I had to finish up the notes before we did the recording as we had a fun thing of Stephen reading Zog and Zog and the Flying Doctors to the little one, and me reading Percy Jackson for my job. Leo says that he needs an answer about whether or not he should leave. Annabeth says keep going because 1, she guesses that he's guarding this area, and 2, if it really is Hercules, fleeing isn't going to work anyway. Piper's instinct is to use charm speak to tell Leo to go, but deep down she agrees with Annabeth, even if it is the scarier option. Piper hopefully proposes the thought that Hercules would be on their side since he's a demigod, and Jason says that he was a son of Zeus and became a god after he died, and you can never really know with gods. And Piper remembers their run-in with Bacchus, another demigod turned god. She recalls how poorly that went, so she's not feeling great about this. Percy goes, great, 7 of us against Hercules. And then Hedge goes, and a satyr, we can take him. I love this. I love the optimism. This is my optimism. Even if my softball team is down 0-11 in the last inning, I'm like, one hit at a time, guys. We got this. One at bat at a time, little by little, chip away. Annabeth has a better idea. They can send a small group of ambassadors to try and talk with him. She says that just 1 or 2 should go. And my thought is, it's got to be Jason and Piper. You have to do Zeus boy and Charm Speak girl, naturally. Jason offers to go since he is a child of Zeus. And Percy says, yeah, but that also could be the worst call because sometimes half-brothers don't get along. And Jason goes, thank you, Mr. Optimism. Annabeth says it's worth a shot. And then she says that they also need a diplomat, quote, someone who's good with words. And that's pretty clear. We need someone who's good with water. Who amongst us is good with water? We need someone who could turn into a lot of animals. Who could be? We need someone who's been dead for a whole lot of time. Yeah. Piper's whole thing is good with words. Come on, Annabeth. Everyone stares at Piper. I get this is just dramatic effect for the book, but it's funny that Annabeth had to think about it.
Yeah.
Piper is tempted to scream and jump overboard, but if Jason is going, she wants to go. And maybe Hercules will be on their side and thus be a huge ally. Quote, they had to have good luck once in a while, didn't they? Not fresh off the heels of some good luck. You can't have a set of chapters where things look bad and then they're good and helpful and then immediately have a situation where things are going to be helpful. No, you're going to have a situation exactly this is what happens. But I was like, you're going to have something where it looks good at first and then turns bad. I've read enough of these books. I know what Rick is doing.
I don't know. Maybe he wants to subvert your expectations.
Look, I feel like I've made this point on the podcast, but it would be very funny if just one of the books, things went swimmingly the whole time. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, they met this person and they were nice and they said, go to this place. And then they went there and they met someone and then they were nice. And then they went here and then they met someone and then they were nice. That's the thing where like, he's so successful. he could do that at this point. Like, you're at the point where you could just like do one for a joke. I don't think he ever will because he seems very dedicated to like crafting these stories and telling a good tale. But man, maybe just he fires one off where he's just like, all the vibes are great in this one.
Yeah. That would be like a great like Tyson side story or something.
Yes.
Like if there's another demigod diet, whatever, it's just Tyson just being nice to people.
Just Tyson's peanut butter adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, the quest to find the crunchiest peanut butter in the land. Yeah, come on. It'd be so good. It would be so good. So Piper agrees to go. She just wants to change her clothes first. So Leo anchors the Argo 2 New Moon between the pillars, and Jason uses the wind to fly him and Piper to shore. Piper was expecting a different look for Hercules. She was expecting more of like poorly aged frat bro in his 30s Hercules. She was not expecting this in italics. And the narrator Piper goes, his feet were bare, covered in white sand. His robes made him look like a priest, though Piper couldn't remember which rank of priest wore purple. Was that cardinals, bishops? And did the purple color mean he was the Roman version of Hercules rather than the Greek? His beard was fashionably scruffy, like Piper's dad and his actor friends wore theirs, the sort of, I just happened to not shave for 2 days and I still look awesome look. He was well built, but not too stocky. His ebony hair was close-cropped Roman style. He had startling blue eyes like Jason's, but his skin was coppery, as if he'd spent his entire life on a tanning bed. The most surprising thing, he looked about 20, definitely no older. He was handsome in a rugged but not at all caveman way. So, I mean, this like tracks with a Hercules that I would be expecting based on other interpretations of Hercules. So I guess the biggest thing that is surprising, which is also what Piper says here, is that he's so young. Now, he does have a club, but it's more like a well-polished giant baseball bat with this really nice handle and everything. That more than a crude log like she was thinking. And she thinks the Coach Hedge would be jealous of this. So they slowly approach, and then the book then has this description of Piper's intro. Hello, Piper said. Always a good start. Great.
Hey, solid opening.
It's a great way to start. Yeah. And then Hercules responds with, what's up? In a very casual tone. Piper introduces them. Jason asks where his lion skin is. And I wrote, it's back in book 3. He says, quote, it's 90 degrees out here. Why would I wear my lion skin? Do you wear a fur coat to the beach? Touche, Hercules. Touche.
You know?
Jason is disappointed since the pictures always have him in it. And Jason just feels much more like a doofus in this book than I remember. Maybe there was just so much going on that we didn't get to see his doof side in The Lost Hero, but I don't know. This is just Mark of Athena. Jason feels different to me than The Lost Hero Jason.
I agree with you. You know, and it's we don't have that much experience with him, but I think so much of what he was doing was trying to figure out who he is and what's going on. And now that there's 7 of them, they need to have some differentiating characteristics.
Yeah.
But I agree. He seems a lot more clueless. Yeah. What?
Yeah, I don't know. So Hercules says not to believe everything that they hear about him. He says that being famous is less fun than it seems. And Piper goes, oh yeah, I can relate. And he asks, are you famous? And she explains that her dad is a movie star. And then Herc growls, complaining that the movies always depict him improperly. And Piper agrees, saying that she is shocked that he's so young. And he says, well, being immortal helps.
In fact, I'm much better at singing than they showed in that Disney movie.
He asks Jason if he's a son of Zeus. And Jason answers Jupiter. And Hercules says, nah, close enough. Quote, Dad's annoying in either form. Me? I was called Heracles. Then the Romans came along and named me Hercules. I didn't really change that much, though lately, just thinking about it gives me splitting headaches. And then his face twitches, his robes flash white for a beat. And that made me realize, oh, okay, that's probably why they went with the purple, is so that you could call him Hercules, which is definitely the way more common name that people know for him.
Especially because of Disney.
Of course. So I wrote in my notes, is he going to be good? This feels too good to be true. And then I wrote, it feels like he's going to do a, well, I can't let you pass, sorry kind of thing. Shoestradamus. Hercules says that Jason can probably understand his struggles. Lots of pressure and just nothing that you do is ever enough. Hercules then turns to Piper and warns her that sons of Zeus can be, quote, ... well, never mind. I'm assuming this is implying like you don't want to date one of us because things can go bad. Piper doesn't know what he's getting at. She just wants to get out of here as soon as possible.
Maybe he thinks there's stormy.
What?
I don't know. Never mind.
What? Huh?
He's saying that children of Zeus can be Never mind.
Is that a way you describe people?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so...
A stormy temperament or...
Oh.
You know, Nah.
I was thinking like a relationship type thing.
The relationship can be stormy.
I've never heard someone say of a stormy relationship.
Oh.
I would say like a
definitely have.
rocky relationship. No. Look, hey,
I don't know.
we'll make that the poll this week in Spotify. Is stormy a way to describe a relationship? She explains that they're on a quest and would like permission to enter the Mare Nostrum. And Hercules says that that's why he's here. After his death, Zeus made him the doorkeeper of Olympus. He thought that would mean palace duty, not this. Quote, stupid columns. Some people claim I created the whole Strait of Gibraltar by shoving mountains apart. Some people say the mountains are the pillars. What a bunch of Augean manure. The pillars are pillars. Now, I got to ask Dr. Moya about that because I think, is that the manure that he had to wash away
with the
stables? I'm guessing that's what it is, but I'll double check. Piper then goes, right, naturally. So can we pass? Which is great. He says that he must give them the boilerplate warning about the dangers ahead, and also that includes him giving them a quest to complete, blah, 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 gotta prove your worth. He says he doesn't make a big deal of this. He usually just gives people something simple like a shopping trip or singing a silly song. Quote, after all those labors I had to complete for my evil cousin Eurystheus, well, I don't want to be that guy, you know? And I gotta ask Dr. Moy about the evil cousin, because I knew about the labors, but I either forgot or haven't heard of the evil cousin.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've read the Hercules and Heracles myth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was elementary school, so I got nothing for you, but your other doctor friend will help us.
Right, different type of doctor.
Different doctor, yeah.
Jason thanks him. Hercules says, no problem. Piper is suspicious of how chill he's being and how quickly this could change. Hercules asks, what's the quest that you're on? And Jason says to stop Gia from awaking the giants. And Herc says, I hate giants, and asks who put them up to this. Quote, Dad, Athena, maybe Aphrodite? Then he looks at Piper and says, as pretty as you are, I'm guessing that's your mom. And Jason answers, Hera. Before Piper can answer, she was too taken aback by this weird thing of like, is Hercules hitting on me?
Yes.
Yep. Jason says Hera, so then she quickly tries to add, oh, no, but we hate Hera too. Herc immediately looks perturbed. And she says, we didn't want to do her quest, but we had to. And Hercules says, but here you are. And
Dun, dun, dun.
And he apologizes, but says that he won't ever help Hera no matter what, no matter how noble this quest that they are on may be. Jason is floored, saying that he thought that he made up with Hera when he was made into a god. And Hercules says that this too falls under the don't believe everything you hear about me category. Mm-hmm. Jason tries to play the brother card, saying that he understands Herc's feelings. Herc says that Jason understands nothing. Quote, my first family, dead. My life wasted on ridiculous quests. My second wife, dead, after being tricked into poisoning me and leaving me to a painful demise. And my compensation, I got to become a minor god, immortal, so I can never forget my pain, stuck here as a gatekeeper, a doorman, a butler for the Olympians. No, you don't understand. The only god who understands me even a little bit is Dionysus, and at least he invented something useful. I have nothing to show except bad film adaptations of my life.
And a sick club.
A really great quote. Like this little turn
yes.
is
I love
so
this.
well written. I love this. I might even ask Dr. Moy about some of these things here, just with like the second wife and the poisoning and all that. I'm intrigued by that. But my main takeaway from this is, Rick, Disney owns your publishing company. What are you doing? One jab at Disney's Hercules? Sure. A very direct jab against Disney's Hercules? Rick! I mean, clearly it has worked out as we record this 2 days after they began production of season 3 of the TV show. Like, things seem to be going okay, but Rick! Whoa, man!
But it gives Hercules so much more depth than just a small little piece. Like I said, it's great.
It's great. And yeah, him pushing back against the movie adaptation is good because that's what most people know. So people reading this, especially if you're a kid, might think, well, I saw Hercules. He's so nice.
Hera loves him.
Yeah.
She's his mom.
And his dad is so good. What a good father. I think for kids reading this, you need to establish, this isn't your dad's Hercules. This isn't baby's Hercules. Like, this is a new Hercules. Piper turns on the charm speak and asks Hercules to go easy on them as they are not bad people. And Piper thinks that this has worked because Hercules hesitates for a bit, but then he clenches his jaw and gives them a quest. Go to the other side of the island, find the river that's there, and break off the other horn of the old god Achelous. We'll obviously learn about him in the next chapter. Jason is confused by what Hercules means by other. My guess is that this is a labor that Hercules already did. He had to break off one of his horns, and now they're going to have to break off the other one. I don't know if Achelous was one of the hardest ones. I have no idea what this labor is, so I am intrigued to see what lies ahead. Hercules tosses them a book and says, "This should help," and really puts disdain on help. And narrator Piper describes it as, quote, "The book's glossy cover showed a photographic montage of Greek temples and smiling monsters. The Minotaur was giving the thumbs up. The title read, The Hercules Guide to the Mare Nostrum."
And I love that he's giving so much disdain, but it's still a book he wrote.
Yeah, I am very much intrigued. I hope they flip through the pages of this in the next chapter, because I am very much looking forward to learning more about the Hercules Guide to the Mare Nostrum.
Do you think he signed the front and the back?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see.
I wonder what his about page is like.
Yeah, about the author. What's the picture for the about the author? Is it him de-heading one of the heads of the Hydra? Ooh, who's to say? So he says that he needs the horn by sundown, and it must come from the two of them with no extra help from the rest of their crew. If they succeed, they can pass. And Piper asks, what if we fail? And Hercules goes, quote, "Well, Achelous will kill you, obviously, and I will break your ship in half with my bare hands and send your friends to an early grave." This is not your Disney's Hercules. This is your Disney Hyperion's Hercules. The book then ends the chapter with, quote, "Jason shifted his feet. Couldn't we just sing a funny song?" And then he goes, "I'd get going," Hercules said coldly. "Sundown, or your friends are dead." And that's the end of this chapter, which I've retitled Hero to Zero. What have you retitled chapter 26?
Hercules, more like Jercules, am I right?
Hold on, wait, this warrants an app that I've long had on my phone and I rarely get to use. I've had this since the iPod Touch days and I've never deleted it because you never know. Well done.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, that is the end of this chapter. That's the end of this episode. Dr. Stephen Parra, thank you so much for joining. Anything in particular you'd like to plug to the people before we depart?
I don't know. Get a primary care doctor. Yeah.
Yep.
I know Jenna's making her podcast too with the Pages Past stuff. I think my episode may come out by the time this is out. I'm not sure.
Probably.
Hopefully.
I think. I would guess.
I had a good time recording that one too. It's been a long enough time that I barely remember anything I said, but
that
I'm
doesn't change. We forget everything we say the minute we stop hitting the record button. Once we hit stop record, it's like, what did we just? Especially a live show, it's like, what did we just say?
Oh, I know.
For 2 hours on stage. But Dr. Stephen, thank you so much for joining. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, where we hopefully get a fun read through of the Hercules Guide to the Mare Nostrum. Wouldn't it be great if the next chapter is just like a fun break and it's just the Hercules Guide to the Mare Nostrum? That'd be good. Or if that shows up in a side book, wouldn't that be fun? Until then.
Oh, wait, just for the fans, apparently.
Yeah.
My name is Stephen Parra. I forgot something important. The thoughts, opinions, and things I've shared today are mine and mine alone and don't reflect the thoughts, opinions, prayers, loves, desires of any medical institution that exists. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Hello. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamontes and Brandon Grugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you really enjoy the show and you just can't get enough, there's a couple of different things that you can do. First, you can go to patreon.com/The Newest Olympian, and you can get access to all sorts of bonus content that I post on a very regular basis. You also can find us and get involved in the community on social media. We've got an Instagram, we've got a Blue Sky, we've got a Twitter, we've got a Facebook, we've got a subreddit, we've got a Discord that's available to all patrons. If you want to support the show, you can get merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. You can see live shows at thenewsolympian.com/live, and you can check out the aforementioned Patreon. And speaking of, I want to give a shout out to our highest tier, the Ultra God tier patrons who are helping to produce this show with their financial support. So shout out to Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Abby Ryan, Marco Redhouse, Sam Reeby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Persasabeth, Aiden Jen Parziani, Grace, Ginger Spurs Boy, A Cup of Solace, Bradamus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Natanya Page, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jacked Son, Han Haley Hingelheimer Schmidt, Catherine Sloan, Haley Mary, Jim Jam Koopy, Kit Kat Crumbs, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nico's Black Vespa, and Zayden Wintergate. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, just spreading the show via word of mouth is huge. You can tell someone directly who you think would like the show. You could post about it on social media. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using. All of these things really do help, and I really appreciate anyone who has done it in the past or will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tune into our next episode where we'll be joined by Sequoia Simone to talk about chapters 27 and 28 of the Mark of Athena. But until then, we'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mix. So in an effort to organize the Shubio a little bit better, we are putting some of the friendship bracelets that I get from Tor into a big mason jar so I can look at them and they're very pretty, but they're all contained and not just spread around on the desk. So I'm going to shake that mason jar. Thank you so much for listening.